Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Today, let's talk about executors as a privacy and emotional buffer for solo agers estates.
Yes.
So executors, by the nature of our jobs or roles, we see a lot of intimate details and secrets. It's kind of part of the package, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Now, if the executor was a friend or family member of the person who passed away, this can be very emotional and kind of hard to unsee what they've seen. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So sometimes, or maybe even often, it's better for friends and families to have a disinterested professional executor instead, somebody who has no emotional connection, and kind of spare their friends and family of those sights or images. Yes.
Cut out the details. Yes.
All right. So we'll get into some of those details. Okay. So first, we'll talk about how professional executors protect secrets. It's actually this is actually legislated. It says in the statute or the case law, actually, I don't remember. But executors have a duty, a legal duty, to protect and honor the reputation of the deceased. So it's not all dollars and cents. If there's a decision that might actually cost a little bit of money, but it's in the executor's fiduciary judgment, worth it to protect and preserve the reputation and legacy of the decedent, they should do it. Are you familiar with that, Janice?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Like you said, we're there to honor the reputation.
Yeah. So what does that mean exactly? Or how does that shake out? What secrets are there to protect? These aren't like really secrets, but rather just, again, you're trying to preserve the legacy. Living conditions is actually something that comes up quite a bit. If you spent the last few years on a borderline hoarder type situation, you might not be exactly proud of that. You might not want your mom or your brother or your nephew or your best friend to see the intimate details of exactly how many, I don't know, piles of newspapers or
Right.
et cetera you had in your place. It's it's embarrassing. You don't necessarily want your best friend. Yeah.
It's embarrassing. Something that's embarrassing, right?
Some folks maybe, in order to stretch the dollars out in their final years, maybe the Social Security and pension wasn't quite what they expected. Maybe they're living a little bit more austere than they've sort of let on to their friends and family. And they don't necessarily want to their friends and family to see all that as exhibited in a sort of sparsely furnished apartment, or I don't know. Maybe people are embarrassed of having all generic brand foods in their kitchen, stuff like that, right?
Right. Or no food, right? You
Right.
There could be little food in there, or something that would be embarrassing. Yes.
And sort of one of the most famous examples of this is the Brooke Astor case. She's she had a nickname. She was like the Duchess of New York or something.
Oh yeah.
She was super wealthy, but it turned out to Astor Place down in the Lower Manhattan's named after her family. It turned out I think her like first husband was on the Titanic. Anyway, yeah, random. But towards the end, she was part of a very, very contested estate, and so a lot of details came out, unfortunately. And she was basically this lady who had contributed millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions to charities, and sort of built New York. She spent her final days sleeping on a urine-soaked mattress in her her kitchen. It was just not. It's not an image she probably wanted people to see. Yeah.
Correct. Right.
Other things that executors usually protect: habits. Maybe you drank more than you let your friends know, and we've seen this. Like, there's sometimes a lot of alcohol in a studio
Right.
apartment. Whatever. Sometimes that's what folks need to do to get through the final years. But again, you don't necessarily want your friends and family to see all that.
Correct.
That extends to drugs, whether it's prescription drugs or the non-prescription kind.
Right. Right.
Again, you don't necessarily. There's probably no criminal consequence because you've already passed, but you probably don't want your friends and family to see all that. And then, of course, the sexual stuff. There's pornography. There's other things that you probably don't want your grandkids to know that grandma was doing,
Yeah,
or
not so
grandpa.
much.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that also extends to your sex life. I don't know if you know this, Janice, but like the most active sexual lives are for seniors and probably solo agers, actually.
There you go.
So you might not want your like I said, grandkids, or you don't want everyone to know your business necessarily. And we've gone through this a lot, actually, to help not hide but sort of downplay relationships at the wishes of our solo ager clients. Yeah,
Absolutely. And they don't need, the family doesn't need to know this stuff, right? It's not going to change anything. And again, go back to honor their reputation and legacy.
Exactly. So what else? Professional executors spare your heirs from regret. So what does this mean? That means we're the ones who go in and clean up everything. The apartments that we just described that might not be in pristine condition, that might be embarrassing, we take care of all that. Alternatively, if you have friends or family doing that, it's sometimes very emotionally shocking for them to see the conditions. You may be thinking there's nothing wrong with the way I live, but to somebody else's eyes, it might not be what they expected. They might not have expected to see how exactly you lived, ate, or slept. They might not have expected to see like a medicine cabinet full of painkillers, for example.
Right.
They might not have expected that, and they might not. The image they might draw from your living conditions might lead them to believe that you were more lonely than they would have been happy with.
Yeah.
And what happens
their perceived view, right, is different than what may actually come about when they see what it looks like.
So you end up having friends or heirs who are kind of filled with regret. We've seen this a couple times. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe my uncle lived this way, or in his final years, or my daughter, this is how it was." So if you want your heirs to have, and friends and family to have, only the fondest memories, maybe you can spare them from this very gritty work. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Lastly, so professional executors also buffer drama from amongst the heirs. So like, as we talked about for the two topics we just talked about, it's very hard to unsee what they've gone through, and that will often lead to heightened emotional states. Yes.
Yeah.
And when everyone's emotional, you're more primed to spark conflict or drama amongst family and friends. So what are we talking about? Like, a friend or a family member blames the boyfriend for not taking better care of you at the end of your life, or if you had like a wealthier niece, the nephew might say, "Hey, you should have given her more money. Like, why did she have to end her life like this?" Just a lot of these are actually real examples, but there's a lot of things that can come up that can lead to family drama. And a professional executor, or family or friends drama, but a professional executor, not only by hiring somebody like us, they're not seeing all these things and getting into that emotional state. And to the extent there is any drama, we're a buffer. We're just right in between. Everyone can get mad at us or whatever. So that's something that often works out pretty nicely. And at the end of the day, what you're ending up with is friends and family who have only, hopefully, fond memories of you,
right?
Because they're going to continue living, and they have to have relationships with each other. So, that's kind of important.
Absolutely. And we've talked about so many times that emotions are so high right now. Anyway,
yes.
Just because you've lost a loved one and dealing with probate and everything, you have these high emotions. This takes out a little extra that could make it a lot worse, right? Yeah. So if you I definitely recommend Anthony's book, The Solo Ager Estate Plan. There should be a link down at the bottom for your free copy.
Perfect. All right. We hope you found this helpful. Just sort of helping you see around corners a bit and seeing what can happen.
Yeah.
Before it actually does. Let us know if you have any questions. As always, thank you, Janice. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk to you soon next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.